So we've got a trigonometry question here. AC is a vertical tower with base at C. The tower has an observation deck at point D, 3/4 of the way to the top of the tower. From point B, on horizontal ground 250 meters from C, the angle of elevation D is 48 degrees. Calculate CD, the height of the observation deck above the ground. Letter B, calculate the angle of depression from A to B. So, let's start. So calculate CD. So we know that this is a right triangle. We know one of the sides and we know one of the angles. So if we remember our SOHCAHTOA, this only works for right triangles. So SOHCAHTOA. So what does this mean? The sine of the angle will be equal to the opposite side over the hypotenuse. So the sine of this angle would be the opposite side over hypotenuse. That does not help us, because we want to know this one. That's fine. I'll call it x. Now I want to know this. However, I don't know the hypotenuse. So cosine adjacent over hypotenuse. So I know adjacent, but I don't know hypotenuse. The last one is the tangent. So the tangent of 48 will be the opposite side over the adjacent side. So that's the one that we might use to solve this problem. So tangent of 48 degrees should be x, which is the opposite side, over 250 meters. If we rearrange this to make x our subject, we would get 250 meters multiplied by tangent of 48 degrees. So if we get our calculator here, the first thing we would have to do is check. So shift setup, we have to check if our angles are configured correctly in degrees, because in our problem we are using angle in degrees. We've got 48 degrees here. So it's in degrees. If it was in radians, you would just click on F1 to bring it to degrees. Then execute, and now we can do our maths. So 240 multiplied by the tangent of 48 degrees. And then that would be around 278 if we keep this up to 3 significant figures. So we're done with letter A. Now for letter B, if you go back to the question, you're told that the observation deck is 3/4 of the way to the top of the tower. So this part here would be a quarter. I mean, it's a third of this value, and it would be a quarter of the total. Right? If we divide this, if we split this into 4 equal parts, then this would be x, this would be 1/3 of x, right? So if this was A, then A, right? Anyway, so we want to know the angle of depression. So now we will have a slightly different triangle. The base is still 250 meters. But now the height is a bit different, which is x plus x over 3. If you work your fractions, you would find 4/3 of x, which is 4/3 of 278. Let's get back to our calculator now. Let me move it to the side, because now I see that it was in front of some things. So if we multiply 4, let me get to the calculator. So 4 times, we can even get the answer here, so we are less prone to mistakes, to approximation errors, right? So shift answer and divide by 3. That would be the height of our tower. So around 370 meters. However, we want to find this angle. I'm calling it alpha. Which of those relations here would help me to find that angle, to find some relation between that angle and those sides? Well, I still have opposite side and adjacent side. So again, we will be using tangents. We've got opposite and adjacent. So we would have that tangent of alpha would be 370, and here in the calculator you can use answer as well, over 250. But we don't just want to know the tangent, we want to know our angle. So to get the angle, we need to do the inverse operation of tangent. So we do the arctan, or inverse tan. Now let's get back to our calculator and let's do arctan, so shift 10. And then I will open some brackets just to make sure that everything that I'm going to type will be considered as an input for this inverse function of 10. 370 divided by 250, close brackets. And there you go. So our answer, if we keep this up to 3 significant figures, this would be 56.0 degrees.